let me do a few tricks, some old and then some new tricks. I'm very versatile.
Greetings from Castle Goring, from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. Oh, it is so good to be back home, although it was good to get a break. And it is good to be back to the most wonderful Indian summer. So, as you can see, I am dressed accordingly. But I am going to have to plunge right in, because as soon as I have finished this, I have to plunge in with something else, because I have friends coming for dinner. So, Kathy Kensinger says, there are comments online saying that Thomas Markle Jr. made a bombshell announcement yesterday on YouTube. He claimed that Trevor, Meghan's ex-husband, told him that Meghan had a hysterectomy. You are the ultimate source of truth on this subject. Thank you very much for considering me to be so. Can you share your thoughts? I love your videos and never miss one. Thank you from America. And along the same lines, with a slightly different twist, Lisa Moon says, can we have some news on the Thomas Markle Jr. video saying Nutmeg had a hysterectomy? We all know the royals are covering up for her and the public pay for the royals. They are lying to. The public, they are lying to. It's, sorry, Lisa Moon. There seems to have been a little bit of a scramble in the translation of this video from the program to the page. So, but I think I've got what you mean. May I point out, first of all, that this is a hugely important matter. So I'm going to actually start with Kathy Kensinger, and I'm going to make a few points as I go along. First of all, I have not read, looked at, or seen what Thomas Markle has said, although I am fully aware of what he has said because of the numerous comments I have received to that effect. That's the first thing. So if I'm slightly out of kilter, it's because I have not read or seen what he has said. I'm going off what people have reported back to me. And I'm doing that deliberately. I believe in being autonomous, independent, and giving my own conclusion. And in this instance, I don't think I need to approach Thomas Markle Jr. beyond anything that I have already discussed with him in the past, or his father or his sister. So, to take it from the top, let's consider this in all its perspectives. Now, I wish to make a very clear point here. This is a hugely important subject that needs to be cleared up, and the longer the British royal family fail to clear it up, is the more damaging it is going to end up being. This has been my opinion all along. I made my opinion absolutely clear to the late Queen's Communications Secretary, I understand why nobody with an ungloved hand wants to pick up a hot potato when it is frying on the fire. I fully understand. Well, let me rephrase that. My opinion is of what my researchers have revealed. I'm being very careful what I say, incidentally, to those of you who don't realize it. I'm sure many of you who follow me do realize I'm being very careful. This is not a situation that the royal family has sought, and insofar as I am aware, they have not covered up anything for Harry and Meghan. What they have done is had to observe the hot potato as the fire increases, because they have to be mindful of Harry and Meghan's legal rights. This situation is a lot more layered and a lot more complex and a lot more nuanced than people would like to believe it is. Having said that, Meghan's behaviour throughout the gestational period of the baby Archie that we saw has called into question whether she actually was ever pregnant. Her own conduct has called into question whether she was pregnant. If she wasn't pregnant, big supposition here, for legal reasons I need to say that. If she wasn't pregnant, she cannot have given birth to a baby. If she didn't give birth to a baby, that baby has no right to be in the line of succession, irrespective of what documentary evidence was furthered and presented to entitle and, one could say, coerce and strong-arm the royal family into making the child a part of the line of succession. All of this is very simply cleared up. If Meghan was pregnant, if Meghan gave birth to that child, she can do what and I should say actually both children, because they're both in the line of succession. But the one where the fandango was publicly displayed was over Archie, because when she was presenting photographs of herself in a state of advanced pregnancy at a few weeks pregnant, this was during COVID, and therefore it was very easy to be private. We won't use the word covert, we use the word private. I'm going to make a very provocative suggestion and statement here. If what Thomas Markle Jr. said was not true, and I have no intention of casting aspersions upon the veracity of his statement or actually coming down on it in any way, shape or form beyond observing what I'm about to observe. If his statement is untrue, it is highly defamatory. It has accused his sister of perpetrating a fraud upon not only the British people and the British nation and the British royal family, but making complete asses of every single observer who is supposed to have believed that she was pregnant when she wasn't. So if what he is saying is true, that's one thing. But if what he's saying is a lie, it is a seriously defamatory lie. And I think Meghan should do something about it. Now, what would she do about it? She has various options. She could sue Trevor for lying about her hysterectomy, which evidently the cause was supposed to be endometriosis. She could sue Trevor. Well, if she sued Thomas Markle Jr., his defense is very simple. Trevor told me. She'd have to sue Trevor. Trevor, whose rings she returned as if, as he put it, he was a piece of something on the bottom of his shoe. Or her shoe, I think it was. He said her shoe, or a shoe. You see how complicated it becomes just right there. Of course, there's an alternative. And it's a very simple alternative. And it is an alternative that I have suggested time and again. All the palace needs to do to clear up this mystery is to make an ironclad announcement as to the fact that there is incontrovertible medical proof that Meghan gave birth to Archie. It follows as likely that if she gave birth to Archie, she has to be given the benefit of the doubt of having given birth to Lily. You can't give birth if you have had a hysterectomy. You can't give birth without a womb. It's as simple as that. This is a very serious accusation that has been levelled against Meghan. It also involves Harry. Now, I have made the point all along that this is a mystery. I'm being polite here, and I'm also being sensible legally. A mystery that it is in everybody's interest that it be cleared up. And it be in everybody's interest that it ceases to remain a question that needs to be answered. It's in the royal family's interest. It's in Meghan and Harry's interest. It's in, bless their souls, the two children's interests. If she gave birth to those children, we are entitled to and have a right to demand and should start to demand in our hundreds and thousands and millions sight of the proof. Failing which, this is the beginning of what is going to turn out to be an extremely, shall we say, not only damaging, but very awkward set of circumstances that need to be dealt with and explained. Now, I have nothing against children, however they come into this world. I have 2 adopted children myself. I certainly have moved on my children's behalf as much of heaven and earth as it were possible to remove for them to have the rights and privileges that would have accorded to them had I given birth to them. I couldn't love my children more whether I gave birth to them or not. This is not about how children arrive. This is not about the quality of the child. There is no reflection on the child one way or the other. But if the brother of a member of the royal family, and she still is a member, albeit semi-detached, of the royal family, has asserted, as he has evidently done publicly, that she had a hysterectomy and that her previous husband told him that she did, that raises so many questions that need to be answered that hopefully this is the beginning of the snowball rolling down the mountainside so that the whole situation will be cleared up. I think I have made myself pretty clear. If I haven't, please feel free to ask me any question you want on the subject, because it is my considered opinion that after this announcement made by Thomas Markle Jr., either she needs to do something in one way or she needs to do something in another. Trevor Engelson, I understand, is a decent and honourable man. He is involved in this as well. So are all of us. And the sooner this doubtful mess receives a measure of clarity, the better for all concerned. And I would make this point. If Meghan and Harry love those children, how can they, especially after Harry knows what it's like to have the way he came into the world questioned, how can he be standing by and allowing speculation about the children's arrival to continue? They owe us, the citizens of every country that those children are in the line of succession to the thrones of, an ironclad provision of proof that those children were born of his and her body, both in terms of semen and ovum and in terms of carriage within her body. Anything else is totally inadequate, unacceptable, and it is, in my opinion, remiss of the royal family to allow this to continue dragging on and on. I fully understand why they are reluctant to address the issue, because when you have been, if it's true, they will have been duped as well as everybody else. Depend on it. However, they are in an extremely awkward position and have been put in that position by Meghan and her conduct. And it's really very simple. If those children were born of her body, it's dead easy to prove. And Meghan, spare us the snapshots of fetuses floating around in internal sacs with no identifying features of mother or child. We're not dumb. We really aren't. At least not as dumb as you. Let's put it that way. So I hope that answers the question. Cindy Jack says, Lady C, what do you make of Elon Musk's observation that Britain has misplaced priorities following the sentencing of Hugh Edwards? To those of you who don't know, Hugh Edwards was one of our leading and most respected television presenters. He led with the news of the Queen's death on the BBC. He was covered in gravitas for decades. He pled guilty to various offences of an awkward nature, since this is YouTube, I need to be polite, involving children. And when I say children, I mean children. I don't mean the legal qualification of children, which used to be a minor, because minors were under 18 and children were up until the age of 11 or 12. Then puberty kicked in and they became pubescent, then post-pubescent teenagers, because all this kerfuffle and mucking around with the language does nobody any good. And some of the children that he was that he had sight of were, I think, 6 and 7 years old. Well, of course, Elon Musk is absolutely right, because he said that he thought that Hugh Edwards' sentence was unbelievable. And this follows his absolutely correct assessment of the way things are run in this country. Always have been, but especially at this time so flagrantly. A two-tier system with two-tier care, he calls the Prime Minister. Now, I actually think it does not behoove us to get rid of this Prime Minister, because his replacement will be even worse than he can possibly dream of being. But people, of course, don't seem to understand that actions have consequences. And if you're going to get rid of a black dog and substitute it with a rabid monkey, you are the idiot, not anyone else. Anyway, he was sentenced in magistrate's court to 6 months in prison, suspended for 2 years. This follows Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, and this government. In the last few weeks, they've only been in government a few weeks, clearing out the prisons of men who have taken advantage of women, people who have assaulted other people, people who are genuine criminals, burglars, etc., crimes of violence. They have all been released early to make space for what Keir Starmer and the government called right-wing, whatever he called them. I've forgotten. The whole thing is so ridiculous. But the Crown Prosecution Service, which people don't seem to understand how the system works, the Crown Prosecution Service, of which Keir Starmer was head for years, they directed the trial to the Magistrates' Court, and there is no system in this country to appeal a too lenient sentence from the Magistrates' Court. Had it been in the Crown Court, which is the level of court above the Magistrates' Court, or the High Court, which is above the Crown Court, yes, there is the right of appeal, and that means that the sentence could have been more appropriate than it was, according to people who think it's too lenient. Well, why would anybody be surprised? I'm going to tell you, it's so ridiculous. The flagrant abuse of our rights in this country. It's, slapped in the face, left, right, and centre by politicians, irrespective of their complexion politically or otherwise. So I'm casting a wide net here. It's not only in terms of one political party or another, it's in terms of all the authorities. Now, the BBC is a treasured institution, in quotes. Hugh Edwards was their leading presenter. He evidently treated everybody who crossed paths with him in the most condescending manner, and regarded himself as far superior to all of the other presenters, etc., etc., etc. Well, because he was their star presenter, do you think, and let's not forget that a lot of the Crown Prosecution Service is very woke. It's an expression I normally would prefer not to use, but for ease of reference, we're going to use it in this instance. They're the ones who make the decision. A lot of the police, they're also very woke. So the police refer him quite rightly to the Crown Prosecution Service. So the police are out of it. They play no part in what has turned out to be very doubtful administration of justice. But the Crown Prosecution Service, being only too aware of the fact that Hugh Edwards is a BBC treasure, and if he goes to prison for any length of time, especially in the light of the crimes he has been charged with and pled guilty to, he would have a heck of a time every time he dropped soap in the showers, to use a euphemism. He would know an awful lot about what discipline is administered in prisons against people who have been charged with the crimes he was charged with. The whole thing stinks to high heaven because it's a put-up job. It's a setup. It was set up to make sure that Hugh Edwards would never go to prison because the people whose political sympathies exonerate somebody who has committed the crimes that he has committed. Well, think about it for a second. They're pretty serious crimes. But he gets what is effectively a slap on the wrist. I can tell you, if it had been Lord whatever, or a popular television presenter from the media, actually, let's say from GB News, my goodness, they would be sent to the Crown Court quicker than you could say boo, and they would have been given a very substantial sentence, which they would have had to serve. Now, I'm going to actually say that I have no objection to Hugh Edwards being given a suspended sentence and not being put in prison, because I don't think that the crimes that he committed make him a danger to the public. And prison is often not only punishment, but rehabilitation. It then begs the question, if he shouldn't be in prison, why are middle-aged women who made one comment that they put up for a very short time using figures of speech on the internet, why are they in prison for several months and longer? I'll tell you why. Because they are on the wrong side of the political divide. Now, if that's not corruption, I don't know what else to call it, because I think it's corruption. And I'm going to quote what Richard Tice, the Deputy Leader of Reform UK, said. I believe the Crown Prosecution Service or Attorney General can ask for retrial by a Crown Court judge acting as a district judge, since it was wrongly allocated to the Magistrates' Court under Section 66 of the Courts Act 2003. Then rules must be changed. This should never have been dealt with at such a low court. Well, I think it was dealt with at a low court deliberately. I see every day the evidence before me that justice in this country is not just. I have nothing against leniency or harshness if they are warranted, but I certainly have something against them being dealt with unevenly, so that those who fall on one side of the political divide are exonerated or effectively exonerated, while those on the other political side of the political divide are in prison. Why are some of those women in prison who are in prison because they posted things? They made a comment that caused no actual harm to anyone. Hugh Edwards' behaviour did cause harm to people. I rest my case on that note. Carol Fernley says, Dear Lady C, I get the veiled impression you do not like any of the Middleton family. I hear the hint when you speak of any of them, that the usual when people speak of someone there's faint praise, then it's followed by but, or however. Just my opinion. Carol Fernley, you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. You're reading far more into this than is warranted. I certainly have nothing against any of the Middleton family. And indeed, if you have rarely listened to what I have said, I have systematically sung the praises of both those Middleton girls and often of their parents. I was asked a question and I answered it in a fully balanced way. That doesn't mean I have anything against any of the Middletons. And my dear, if I had something against them, don't think I'd need to be veiled about it. I certainly wouldn't. What are they going to do? Gobble me up for breakfast? I don't think so. Katrina H. says, Personally, I think it's a very smart move of James Middleton. I've been aware of his struggles for some time, and the book is a helpful insight into his condition, his solution, and a brave step for others to learn from. Well, as I made clear in the last time I addressed this subject, I would not have done what he did, but I'm not him. But I'm entitled to say what I would do, just as how you're entitled, whoever you are, to say that what you would do. It is possibly a very helpful move, and that I have made clear as well, because as I have said before, and I'll repeat it, I am an ambassador for SOS Silence of Suicide. And anything that helps in a situation like this, I am very much in favour of. The fact that I am too selfish to have done something doesn't mean that somebody who is more selfless shouldn't have done it. I just wouldn't do it. And I fully appreciate why he's done it, and I am delighted that you find it so admirable. And I haven't said that I do not find the effect of what he's doing hopefully admirable. And I get why he has done it. It's just that if you had to lead your life for most of your life, having no or little privacy and having people sniffing around private matters and private parts in almost the literal sense of the word, I think you too might actually understand why I would never do something like that. I don't care who I'm going to help. Charity starts at home and onesie comes before everybody else, as far as I'm concerned. And I was very honest about my feelings, and it's no reflection on James Middleton that I have an entirely different idea. But then James Middleton has not had his privacy violated. And if he chooses to violate his own, that's his right. So the whole situation is rather more layered, and I leave it at that. Janice Pownell says, Lady Campbell, The vultures are circling. And she made that observation, and I'm going to ratify it and confirm it, because Sam Beebe made 2 comments, and there were others, but we're just going to stick to Sam Beebe. So, or Bibi. The first one is, "Hi, Lady C. Did Thomas Markle confirm receipt of the GoFundMe dollars? Did he even get it?" I think you mean them. Dollars, plural. So dollars, them. Dollar, it. I haven't seen a video of him thanking you, us, for it. Sam Bibi, did you give? I don't think I recall having seen your name on it. Were you one of those who was anonymous, possibly? And you haven't seen the video of him thanking us, you, for it? For your donation? The donation that if you gave it anonymously, if at all? Well, Sam Beebe, I've got news for you. I can't help it if you don't look at every program. And if you missed the video that his comment was included in, where he thanked everybody, sorry, I'm not repeating it endlessly for your convenience. Play catch-up at your leisure, but not at my expense, thank you very much. And now for your second comment. Hey, Lady C, did Thomas Markle ever get in touch to say thanks for the GoFundMe? I thought you would have had him on since receiving the money, assuming he got it, that is. Sam Beebe, you went to such trouble to try to be provocative that it really would be very cruel of me to deprive you of your just desserts. So let me just make this point. The next time you make an impertinent, unacceptable, and truly offensive comment without any just cause about me, I will block you from this channel. Goodbye, jerk. And Melbourne Old Fashioned says, Lady C, what is the end game for Meghan and Harry? Where do you see both of them in 5 years? Well, I'm not a fortune teller, but 5 years is a very long time. Of what her brother has said recently, I would say 5 years is a lifetime. What is the end game? The end game has been attention, wealth, and provocation. It has been overweening ambition, and it has been contempt for the viewer, the reader, everybody who has been forced into being an audience. Let's wait and see as and when the chickens come home to roost. And let's see to what extent the authorities, because the British authorities, I have to tell you, are very adept at ignoring that which they find inconvenient. The government has done it. The government has shown it. The Hugh Edwards incident shows to what extent the powers that be, when it suits them, will just massage away things that the establishment, feels should be massaged away, irrespective of the disapproval of the public because they think, oh, well, in 3 days or 3 weeks, they're going to have something else to occupy them. Well, let's see if the royal family keeps on making that mistake, because I don't incidentally blame the royal family for not pushing their hand in the fire and picking up that hot potato until they absolutely have to. But let's see what happens, because I would be very surprised if any of the mainstream media pick up one thing of what Thomas Markle has said. And until the mainstream media do, I am afraid you're going to be like wolves baying in the wilderness at the full moon. And on that note, I'll say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please keep the questions and comments coming in so I will know what you would like us to be addressing. Thank you so much. Godspeed. And if this has truly entertained you and you have enjoyed it, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and take good care. Bye-bye. And as promised, I am going to share today and every other day for the next week or two the blurb about Kids Out, and also show you how, if you would wish to make a contribution, you can. I have been happy to make a contribution. It is a genuine charity. It has a charity number registered with the charity commissioners, and I think it's a wonderful cause. So God bless you. Bye-bye.